Hi, this is Nino Gonzalez, and welcome to another episode of Making Sense. Today I have the honor of having Mr. Joe Ferguson here, and he is the director of the Small Business Development Center. And thank you, Joe, for taking time to be here at this taping.
Thank you, Nino. We appreciate you allowing us to speak a little bit about the Small Business Development Center today.
Well, let's start off. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I came to El Paso in 1990. Prior to that time, I was working in corporate America, working in the apparel industry. And as many people know here in El Paso was really the jean capital of the United States. So I had the opportunity to buy into a business here in El Paso with a current supplier to the corporation that I worked for. And he and I together grew this company. Eventually, we started 2 factories in north central Mexico and started supplying primarily denim jean products to the major U.S. retailers. So it was a big change for my wife and my kids. We were living in Colorado at the time, but they had become used to me kind of moving around the western United States in various corporate positions. So coming to El Paso for us was a big step and a very important step in our life, and one that we never regretted because we like living here very much.
So that's how you made your transition coming into the El Paso area and staying here.
Exactly. And we worked in the Mexico area for about 15 years. We had the opportunity to sell that business, so we took advantage of it, and I decided it was too early in my life to go ahead and just hang it up and maybe hit the golf course or do something else in retirement. So I looked for opportunities, and the opportunity that presented itself and I felt was best for me as an individual was to take my job skills and come to work here at El Paso Community College. I was fortunate enough to be interviewed for an opening at the Small Business Development Center as a business advisor.
Wow.
And I thought the skill sets were a perfect fit for me because the business advisors here at EPCC, they do help people that want to start a business or existing businesses to grow and or improve their businesses. And I thought, gee, I've done that. It's something I should be able to transition into fairly easily and to be able to help other people within the community.
Well, that's great, bringing all that expertise to try and help small businesses get started or maybe take a turn from where they're at to make them a little bit more successful. So tell me a little bit about the Small Business Development Center and what its purpose is.
Sure. The Small Business Development Center was established by the Small Business Administration, by the federal government, and it's actually been in existence here at EPCC since 1985. Wow. We were the first center within our region, and our region covers an area from El Paso to Brownsville up to Austin with 10 regional centers. So we were the very first center within that region, and that was started, like I said, back in 1985. The purpose of the Small Business Development Centers really is to assist entrepreneurs that are interested in starting a business and to enlighten them, give them tools to be as successful as possible should they actually want to go ahead and start that business. And what I say by should they want to start the business, right, we do feasibility analysis for them. They come in with an idea, maybe they've got some seed capital they're willing to pledge to this project, and so we will assist them with, does your project make sense? Is it economically feasible if maybe you're trying to replace a job or create a job for yourself? And we'll actually run spreadsheets, we'll run numbers, we'll create a profit and loss statement, balance sheets, cash flow statements,
right,
and discuss with them all the various facets that they really need to know before they put their hard-earned money down to start a business.
And that's interesting that you mentioned that, because as a professor here at the college, I always talk about that you never want to plan to fail. And I think a lot of small businesses, they don't take that proper step in planning and they jump right into it. And how many times have we seen a restaurant that exists there for about a month or two, and then all of a sudden it's gone? And I think it's due to the lack of planning.
Exactly. And I mean, I think you're so right. the planning aspect of it, even when I was in business, I found that I was probably spending 75 to 80% of my time on planning, and maybe 20% of the time specifically working with the customer or executing the plan, because the plan became so important. And in most businesses, the plan's not static. It's very, very active. It's changing on a very frequent basis, and the business owner needs to recognize that
Right.
maybe the reason they started the business or what they thought we're going to be doing, things around them change rapidly, and the
Sure.
business has to change with what's happening around them, or they have trouble surviving.
And I think once a small business owner sits down and starts writing that plan and looking at different aspects, even before they invest the money, it could be a life-changing decision and might not be the route to go.
Exactly. And it's funny you mentioned that as well. I have had people come into me that are currently employed, and they say, you know, I have this idea, I want to start a business, and in doing so, I think this is something I'd really like to do. And so I'll question them, well, why do you want to do it? And the answers are all over the place, from
Right.
I don't like working where I work right now, I don't like my boss, I've always wanted to be self-employed, but then maybe after we do the feasibility analysis, it doesn't look as promising as what they thought it was going to look
Correct.
like. So they change their mind and they say, no, I think I'm better off staying where I am. Maybe I'll pursue this at a later date or look at a different business venture.
And I've also seen where some small business owners start their business and it's not going well and they don't know when to quit.
Exactly.
And sometimes they get so much into debt, overextend their credit, and even take out a second home equity loan or things like that, or borrow into kids' college funds, and they just don't know when to stop.
And that happens as well. Approximately maybe 65%, 70% of the people that come to the center are for startup assistance.
Right.
The other percentage, 30, 35% are existing business owners. Normally they're coming in because they're saying, I've started my business, I've been in business for a year or two, maybe longer, and things have changed. Sales have dropped off, profitability has dropped. I need some help in rebranding myself, marketing myself. What can you do for me? And so we will work with them on analyzing their financials, analyzing their business plan if they have one. Many
Sure.
times they don't. And we try to help them create a strategic plan that will move them forward and not only maybe save that business, but hope them to be more profitable and hopefully someday build a retirement for them where they can exit that business
Right.
and move on to something
Well,
else.
that's great. And what is the definition of a small business when it comes to the Small Business Development Center? Is there an employee amount limit or a dollar limit for sales that you define a small business as?
Yeah, actually, the SBA does the definition of the small business for us. Normally, within Texas here, the definition is less than 100 employees, but some businesses, some industries, it goes by dollar volume depending
Right.
upon the volume. But as just a general rule of thumb, typically 100 employees or less, and in El Paso, that really is the majority of the businesses.
Right.
So, I mean, we do have some big employers here in town, but the majority of El Paso is very entrepreneurial, and they're our ideal client to speak, because many times it's 10 employees or less, and they maybe haven't had a formal business education, but they need to be as savvy about running a business as anybody else would.
And I've seen a lot of small businesses where the business owner is busy out there trying to get sales or jobs or contracts, but they fail to look at the business side.
Right.
And they don't understand it. And I think that's where the Small Business Development Center will help them. So if a small business comes in, or a potential entrepreneur wanting to start that, is there a charge for this? What type of assistance do you offer them?
The good thing about small business development centers, and we are one of about 1,000 small business development centers throughout the United States. We're always associated with a major university or a college, and our services are at no cost and confidential because we are federally supported. We're supported under a grant from the state of Texas, and then we receive funding from El Paso Community College.
Wow.
So somebody coming in the door, we're going to give them those confidential counseling services at no cost, and we're able to help them as long as they want to continue to come in for services. And I think that's the good thing about it. As many of these businesses evolve and grow over the years, our clients keep coming back
Sure.
over and over again because their needs change. So it's incumbent upon us as business advisors to stay on top of what the trends are, what's happening in certain industries, what's happening in terms of marketing trends, to be able to help our clients wherever we can to make them successful.
And sometimes a business doesn't look into the future. What might be okay right now might not be okay in the future, as you mentioned, with trends.
Exactly. So for us to stay current, we have to attend outside professional development, just as we would recommend any business to do the same, to continue their education, whether it be through us, through the educational services that we provide, through the counseling that we provide in terms of our business advising. We can also provide them with in-depth research on a particular project or industry that they're looking into, as well as, hey, what's trending within that industry?
Sure.
What is the competition doing that maybe they need to get in front of themselves?
And sometimes even smaller businesses, they don't understand that there's usually trade journals with regard to the business that they're in, and they can get a lot of information about those trends and how other competition is doing.
Exactly. And yeah, unfortunately, most small businesses, because they're so focused on the business, they lose sight quite often of what's going on around them, and they're very concerned about how to get the next customer in the door, and maybe they're not doing the right things. And we can assist them in that, and that's really our challenge as a center, is getting the word out, letting the people know within our community here that we're here to help you, and we can assist you at no cost. And if we don't have the answer to a particular question, we'll do the best we can to find an answer, even if it means referring them out to another community resource. That's okay with us. We just want them to be successful, follow their passion, and do what's going to make them happy.
And you mentioned that if a small business comes in or an entrepreneur, they get in contact with a business advisor. How do you come across these business advisors, and where do they come from? What type of qualifications do they have?
That's a great question. I mean, I would say there's my ideal picture of what I would like to see a business advisor to be, but the reality is our business advisors come from all different walks of life, and I think that's a good thing because they bring a lot of diversity to the table. Every one of them is bilingual, so if somebody's coming in speaking Spanish, they don't need to worry about can I communicate my idea in English, because we're going to be able to help them anyway in Spanish. But we've got prior business owners, both in manufacturing. We've got people that have got engineering backgrounds, individuals with accounting backgrounds, insurance backgrounds, a lot of project management backgrounds, a lot of different diversity, as well as people that are familiar with government contracting. So we've tried to put within the organization those key individuals that can help almost anyone. But one of the things that we found is that maybe we won't have the exact expertise in the same industry for the person that's coming in requiring business assistance, but many times the assistance still remains very much the same. They're looking for marketing help. They're looking for what's the best business structure, legal structure that I should establish. So there's a lot of commonality, and it allows us to help them because of that commonality.
Or sometimes they might want to get a loan through the SBA or their bank, or maybe a potential investor, and they need a business plan. And do you help them develop a business plan?
We do. We can help them with the development of the business plan. We don't necessarily do the plan for them, but we show them how to do the plan, and we break it into sections, and then we will critique it section by section and help them to refine that until that plan is good enough to be able to go to a bank with not only the plan itself, but financial projections, and they're able to articulate what they want to say to that banker, as well as give the banker a formal business plan so that banker can take it to a loan committee and hopefully that project can get funded.
Right. And I know that you're funded by the SBA. So in order to get an SBA loan, do they have to come to your center or not necessarily?
Not necessarily. If the individual is interested in getting an SBA guaranteed loan, we will assist them in that area. But sometimes maybe that SBA loan is not the best fit for them. Maybe they need a small line of credit, or maybe their personal credit isn't very good and they need to work with a smaller lender in the community that specializes in microloans and with people that have less than perfect credit. Right. So we will work with them on both sides, whether it be an SBA guaranteed loan with a traditional lender, a microloan, or some other financing vehicle, and it could even be a private investor that we're going to introduce them to.
Well, that's a lot of great information, and we'll come back and talk more about the Small Business Development Center in our second half of Making Sense. Thank you. Welcome to the second half of Making Sense, and I am here with Joe Ferguson, the director of the Small Business Development Center, and we're going to continue our discussion about the center. And Joe, tell me, how has the center evolved since it first started and since you came on board?
Well, you know, it evolves through the people that are working there, and we've had a variety of people over the years. The center today is probably, or looks different than maybe it did a few years ago, because we've got a fair number of staff that have been there 5 years or less. My particular management style is one where I bring in what I feel are the best possible candidates as business advisors, and I give them as little direction as they need. I want them to, on their own, be kind of entrepreneur, and I want them to be able to assist the clients that come to us and be creative and to meet those clients' needs. So from an evolving standpoint, I would say one of the most important things that's happened at the center is, obviously I'm very proud of all the individuals that work there. We've got 6 full-time business advisors, a training coordinator, and 3 administrative support staff. We work very, very closely together as a team. We take a team approach to helping the clients that come in. So if one of us maybe isn't as familiar with a particular project, somebody else can assist and make sure that the client gets what they came in for.
Well, that's great. And you mentioned that these small business development centers, they're usually tied with a university or a community college, correct?
That's correct. And
so that's one partnership, is through El Paso Community College. What other partnerships does the Development Center have?
We try to work as closely as possible with a lot of the other community organizations. That could be both chambers in town, the Greater El Paso Greater Chamber of Commerce, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, other SBA resource partners like SCORE, which is the Service Corps of Retired Executives, and the Women's Business Border Center located at the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Those are direct ones that we work with on a constant basis. We also work with various community development organizations, whether it be the City of El Paso's Economic Development Department. We're currently working with them on a business retention and expansion task force to identify the needs of existing businesses and to try to help existing businesses to be more successful in the community and want to stay in the El Paso community, because if we can keep existing businesses happy, they're going to be prone to speaking highly of the community, bringing in more jobs, more companies into El Paso. We also are active with the El Paso Consortium, which is composed of a lot of these same organizations, as well as individuals that it could be financial lenders. It includes representatives from UTEP, from the Congressman O'Rourke's office, and other organizations, including local hospitals, Fort Bliss, and we work together, we share ideas, we work together on various projects together. We work with the Hub of Human Innovation downtown, which is a incubator.
So these partnerships that the Small Business Development Center has, I think it's really beneficial depending on what a small business wants to do or where they want to be located or what's needed within the city.
Absolutely. And even though we all, I think, offer great services to the community, sometimes one organization does a better job of it than another, and we're not afraid to refer people out to the other organizations if we feel we can only go so far with them, and then maybe the person needs additional help. Well, we're going to refer them directly to the right person, the right organization to meet their needs.
And about how many small businesses do you help a year?
This last year, we assisted about 840 clients that came to the center, and that was a combination, like I said, of about 70% startups, 30% existing businesses. On top of that, we assisted over 3,500 people in our training and seminars and workshops, and we held about 125 individual workshops for those individuals. We assisted in the creation of over 325 new jobs in the community, as well as capital infusion over $12 million. So we have metrics that we try to live by and to make, that the SBA expects us to make. Right. And fortunately, we've got good support from within the community. People come to us when they need help, and it makes it easier for us to hit those metrics.
And I also learned that you help some of the instructors at El Paso Community College when they're teaching maybe a business course or a business planning course, and you offer some of that expertise to try and bring in that real world solution into the classroom.
All people have to do is just ask us.
Right.
We're willing to go out, assist those classroom students, and many times it's in the creation of a business plan, or maybe some of the students themselves here at the college, they have some entrepreneurial ideas and they want to run those ideas by us just like any other entrepreneur would that's maybe already out of school.
And that's such a wonderful resource, because I think students learn better if they have some real world application behind that instead of just textbook knowledge.
And I think sometimes when they hear somebody that's sort of been there and done that, it means a lot more to them. And I'll give you an example. Twice a month, we participate in a SBA program called Boots to Business on Fort Bliss. And we normally have a classroom of about 35 transitioning soldiers that are going to be getting out of the Army within the next 6 months. And they have entrepreneurial ideas. Wow. And we get up in front of the class and we literally tell them like it is. We give them the real world scenario. We don't hold back on anything, because we want them to know if they're going to start a business, these are some of the difficulties you're going to encounter, and we want them to be aware of it before they actually take that risk.
Tell me about some of your success stories that you had with some local businesses.
You know, that's, I think, the most rewarding thing for us as business advisors here at the center is we get to help people live their dream, open their business, grow their business, and we have literally helped hundreds of businesses within the community, ranging from mom and pop restaurants to medical doctors, veterinarians, auto mechanics that maybe want to either open an auto shop, people that have a floral shop, small manufacturing companies, could be pet groomers. I mean, you name the industry, the business.
You've done it.
We have probably assisted those people over the years at the SBDC and continue to help them. And I don't look at it as there's no business out there that we can't help.
Sure.
And that would include inventors that have ideas and maybe looking for venture capital money or angel investors because traditional banks won't help them.
Correct.
So we're going to help them structure those ideas to be able to live the dream that they're looking for.
And I'm probably assuming that some of these businesses maybe started at home and then developed into a physical outside location, or some might even just continue at home depending on the type of business it is.
I love home-based businesses, and the reason I love home-based businesses, somebody can get into it, they can take their expertise, they can do it with very little financial obligation on their own part, they can test their concept. And I really like the idea of testing the concept before going out and going into debt, doing something that maybe won't work out for you, or maybe you won't even like it. And many times the best way to do it is do it small, do it cheap, and put your knowledge into it. Put your knowledge and your expertise as opposed to risking a lot of capital.
And that's exactly what I did when I decided to start my own CPA practice. Is I started at home and see how it went until I actually moved into a physical outside office. But then the teaching bug caught me, and now I'm here at El Paso Community College. But one of the things is what you mentioned is that when you start a business, you don't research it enough. I've had students who've come up to me and they tell me they want to start this business. Then I start asking them questions. Well, how many businesses are there of that kind? If there was one, is it still here, or is it gone? Why is it gone? Where are you going to be located? Is that the appropriate location? And that's exactly what the Small Business Development Center does, and it opens up the eyes of a potential entrepreneur, and maybe they need to refine or find another idea.
Exactly. And you know, we as everybody knows, we have a lot of Mexican restaurants here in El Paso.
Right.
And in their own way, they're all very good. But sometimes when we have people coming in and they want to start a restaurant because they feel they have a favorite family recipe and they're going to be successful, we have to kind of bring them back down to earth. And we don't want to destroy the passion for the idea. We want to keep that alive, but we want to open their eyes to the fact that you have a lot of competition if that's the field you're going to go into, and what's going to separate you, and what niche do you have that is different from that competition that's going to drive traffic to your business. And I use the example of a restaurant just because we have a lot of good restaurants here in town, but they're also very competitive. And I particularly like to work with individuals that maybe have a niche idea that is different from the rest, because I know they have a better opportunity to be successful.
And you know, with the restaurant industry, it's such a high failure rate. Especially if it's a local business.
Yes.
As I mentioned earlier in the show, sometimes you go by a restaurant and it's there maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and after you know it, it's no longer there.
Yeah, unfortunately that's true. And unfortunately that's true. It can be true of any industry, and many entrepreneurs are lacking the skills that are necessary to be successful in business. They may have a particular trade or skill that they're good at, but when they turn that into a business as opposed to maybe using that skill working for somebody else, all of a sudden they have to wear a lot of different hats, and a lot of hats that they're not familiar with. And you mentioned yourself about your CPA business. One of the greatest discrepancies that we see and weaknesses in starting a business is many people come to us, they do not understand their profit and loss statement. They don't understand cost of goods sold. They don't understand a balance sheet and the cash flow statement, and how those things work together. And so financial literacy becomes extremely important for a business owner.
Wow. So that's great. And you know, I want to thank you for taking time to come talk to us about the Small Business Development Center. And we're going to bring you back for another show to talk about the courses that small businesses or individuals can enroll in and learn more about business. I want to thank my guest, Joe Ferguson, the director of the Small Business Development Center, in association with the Small Business Administration at El Paso Community College. And we'll see you next time on another episode of Making Sense. Thank you.